Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I am Jessica Thurston. My pronouns are she, her. I am the HESS committee secretary, filling in tonight while our steadfast leaders are both commuting. So thank you very much for bearing with us. We're really excited to have our full committee here, though. So we're going to make some efficient decisions tonight and get through a great agenda together. So this meeting is now called to order. Recording has begun. So the meeting of the May Committee of Brooklyn Community Board 2, the Health, Environment, and Social Services Committee is called to order, and it's being recorded for public access and archiving in accordance with the New York State Open Meetings Law. It's the practice of Community Board 2 to conduct remote meetings with all committee members' cameras on. Public attendees are also encouraged to leave their cameras on, particularly if you're given the floor to speak. And I'll also quickly remind community members to please consider adding your zip code like Ramona has to the beginning of your name. That's very helpful for us. All attendees, please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking. To maintain an appropriate discussion and voting process, I or Brandon or Nicole will make it known when and which topics are open for comment by committee members, board members at large, and the public. If you have questions that fall outside of public comment time, please type them into the chat panel and we'll address them as time permits. You may also email the district office at any time outside of these meetings. We're committed to providing access for all of our neighbors, regardless of physical ability or limitation. If you require accommodation or assistance for full participation, please don't hesitate to contact the district office, but 72 hours before any public meeting like this one. We ask that those speaking or presenting use plain language, and unlike I tend to do, please speak at a moderate pace. If you're presenting or sharing slides, please read the title of every slide and describe any images on the slide, such as photos or graphs or charts. So with that, we will turn to our agenda, which I am flipping back to in real time. And I would like to ask for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda from any of the committee members.
So moved.
Mr. Smith, and I saw Mr. Varela. Thank you. Approved, we can approve by consensus. Did everyone have a chance to read the April 2022 minutes? 2023, but also 2022. Thank you, Taya. And the agenda for tonight is in the chat for those that haven't seen it. All right. Well, if you have any comments on last month's minutes, please feel free to share them with me or share them with Taya in the district office and we'll note them. Not hearing anything, may I please get a motion to adopt last meeting's minutes?
Adopt it. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Ryan.
I second it.
You second? Okay, I saw Mr. Ryan's hand. Unless, Mr. Ryan, do you have a question or no? Okay, great. Okay. Mr. Andrews, Mr. Ryan. Great. So now our agenda item is open session for public comment on adopted agenda items. I'll provide some context that this is a relatively new addition to Community Board 2's agendas. And the idea is that if there is something that needs to be said that doesn't necessarily belong in the rest of the discussions on the agenda, or that you really need to share now, I encourage you to use the digital raise hand feature to please raise your hand. With that said, if you have a comment on, for example, a liquor license that we're discussing tonight, it might be best to wait and hear that presentation, and then we will very much welcome community input. So with that context added, does anyone have any public comment on the agenda? Fantastic. I'll take that as a no. All right. So we're going to move into the liquor license application reviews. We have 3 tonight. The first is a full liquor, wine, beer, and cider license at 63 Lafayette. Is anyone here from 63 Lafayette?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let me go ahead and share. Oh, Taya, do you mind remaking it a co-host? Oh, there, you can see that, right? Okay. Thank you. I did something. I don't know what I did. Okay, 1 second, folks. You know what? I'm having an issue for some reason sharing my Adobe. I don't know why that is. I'm a co-host, right, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you able to do that? For some reason, it's not letting me share Adobe.
Oh, that's odd. 1 second.
I know. I have SharePoint. I have OneDrive. I have.
Happy to help, and thank you so much for wearing 3 hats tonight.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, while we're pulling that up, 63 Lafayette FGOD LLC. Thank you so much, Taya. The floor is yours. Please tell us about your application and your establishment.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Joseph Levy here on behalf of FGOD LLC at 63 Lafayette Avenue. I have with me one of the applicant principals, Anoop. I'll allow him to introduce himself and speak a little bit about the concept, and then I can jump into some of the nuts and bolts of the application. Go ahead, Anoop.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the time and consideration. My name is Anoop Flarasetti.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Anu, you sound very far away. Is there any way you can be closer to the mic? Thank you.
Is that better?
Say something else.
Is that better? Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for the time and the consideration. I'm joined on the call with my partners, Ham Elwhaley and Michael Tuyak as well, who are listening in. I'm a 14-year resident of Fort Greene, been working in hospitality for the better part of 12 years, Momofuku, Shake Shack, Pok Pok, and Beer Table in Park Slope. This is our first kind of self-owned and operated restaurant and bar. Really, really excited to do this in my home neighborhood. We're opening a neighborhood oyster bar and cocktail bar, inspired by my original home of Louisiana, but kind of bringing elements of that to New York, my new home, and to Fort Greene specifically. I can hand it over to Joseph for a little bit more detail on the specifics of the app. Thank you.
So the application before you, this is actually an asset sale. You guys heard an application at this space not too long ago. There was a liquor license that was applied for and recently approved and activated. We are transferring the assets of that business. So it's a transfer of this full liquor license. The proposed hours of operation here are noon to midnight, Sunday through Thursday, noon to 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Inside, we have 12 tables with 47 seats at those tables. Outside, they want to participate in the DOT program with 3 tables with 10 seats. They're looking to close the outdoor space at 10 p.m. All nights though. The idea here, actually one of the tables is also a counter, I should mention, that has 10 seats of it. We included that in the table count. There's background music only here. There is one stand-up bar with 7 seats. And if you have any questions, we're here to answer them.
Great. I'll ask some quick clarifying questions and then we'll open it up to the committee and then to the community. So you stated that this is a transfer. Do you mind just reminding us what the application was that we approved at this location?
Sure, it was the St. Felix Pizza Place, right? That was the name of it?
Oh.
St. Felix.
Okay. And thank you. And are the hours that you're presenting here consistent with what were approved?
As far as we know, yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Although I don't have a copy of your resolution previously, but
Yeah.
we've been informed that it is in line.
Okay, great. And you said 10 p.m. outdoor close. Is that daily?
Correct.
Okay, excellent. I have some others, but let me make space for the rest of the committee. Committee members, does anyone have any questions? Emily?
Was this the old Scapello space?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, sorry, yes, yeah,
So there's a license history here, yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Mr. Smith?
Could they speak about the private events, how that will be managed? And I saw DJ was checked off on the application, but it said background music.
Correct. So the idea behind the DJ, I'll answer that one first. It will always be background music, even when it is a DJ. Just in some instances, it makes sense to have someone who can read a room and change the music accordingly, but it's not going to get above that background volume. The idea here is very much to be a restaurant and to be a place that has background level music, not loud entertainment level music. We're not bringing in headlining DJs here. It's just someone who's actively manipulating the music as opposed to just putting on a playlist to feel the room. You want to talk about the private events and how you envision those going?
Yeah, so for private events, kind of two types of events that we are thinking of accommodating. One would be a partial buyout of the back room. So that would basically mimic standard service. It could be helpful to pull up the chart. So that room can be fairly self-sufficient in and of itself. So for larger parties, weddings, birthday parties, so on and so forth, we envision that being available for partial buyout. The second type of buyout would be, of course, of the full space. Again, not too different from our standard service, though there would probably be, food stations and past hors d'oeuvres and things like that, but really just able to accommodate, some types of events that we've seen in the neighborhood before. And that's everything from weddings to birthday parties to partnering with BAM for, after show events and things like that.
And just to be clear about the events, under no circumstances are we talking about a situation here where we have promoters who are coming in and taking over the space and turning it into something it's not.
Okay, there'll be somebody on site at all times, a manager that people can communicate with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what kind of conversations have been had with residents? You had said that there was like 3 residents above.
Yeah, there's actually only 2. We did provide a few sheets worth of signatures from people in the neighborhood that we spoke to and got support from. You can speak to some of the conversations you've had with people in the neighborhood as well.
Yeah, so we did signature gathering last week. We have a very good relationship with the landlord in the building who, on behalf of us, provided notice to the 2 tenants in the space above, both about the meeting and of the concept over a week ago. So they received the full packet as well. We've spoken to, all of the neighboring businesses and introduced ourselves. I believe a couple of them have introduced letters of support. So we've done our best to kind of communicate with folks in and around a 2-block radius, but also just being someone in the neighborhood. I have connections on the Fort Greene Park Conservancy, the Fort Greene Tennis Association, of which I sit on the board, and have just had, anecdotal conversations with people who live in the neighborhood through those connections as well.
Great. Ms. Cumberbatch and then Mr. Varela.
Yes, I wanted to know what type of recruitment you'll be doing in terms of hiring, and will you be hiring people who reside in the neighborhood and making outreach that way?
Definitely. We plan on posting notices on the storefront itself. I have a number of local hospitality connections from just living in the neighborhood for so long. So I plan to use those as gateways into folks who live close by. And like I said, I've been in the neighborhood for quite some time now. So I'm hoping to, also use my connections through tennis, through the Park Conservancy to reach out and find folks who are local to hire and bring in.
A few questions actually. I didn't see a menu in the application. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong file. Did you say it's explicitly an oyster bar? Or it's a full restaurant, full menu?
So it is a full restaurant with a focus on oysters and seafood, particularly things that are inspired by New Orleans. So a selection of cold and hot dishes of various sizes. So we're kind of, we're designing the menu to be a place where someone can stop in for a drink and a snack, or also as well have a full meal. So there's some flexibility to how it's structured and built. I believe there is a draft copy in the application as well that shows about 80% of what's on the actual menu in development.
Yeah, there is a draft menu in there. I'm not sure, maybe it just didn't scan or something, but it was in the original packet.
Okay, thank you. And then question 2, in terms of accessibility, is the space ADA compliant? Is the bathroom accessible?
Yeah, there's one ADA compliant bathroom. It's the one closer to the entrance of they're side by side, but the one on the left of the floor plan we shared. And also the space is fully accessible from the sidewalk.
Okay, and then lastly, I just really want to underscore what Ms. Cumberbatch said, and not, again, just to say this has no bearing on your application, just highly encourage you to hire local, and specifically brown and black people. Reminded last week in the New York Times the unemployment rate for Black New Yorkers is 3 times what it is for white New Yorkers. We have pockets of high unemployment and poverty in Fort Greene. And if you would like suggestions on where to post and where to advertise for positions, please let us know.
Yes, that is very, very meaningful to me as well. As someone who, has lived in the neighborhood for 15 years, seen it change, contributed to that change in some ways as well. I'm seriously committed to it, so would take any direction and advice that any of you have on how to do that outreach.
Thank you.
Great. Ms. Anadu and then Ms. Einhorn.
Sorry, just to further add to Ms. Cumberbatch and Mr. Varella's point on hiring. As we know, 50% of the residents of Fort Greene reside in Ingersoll, Farragut, and Whitman. So just encourage, and from my experience of when you live close to Fulton, your life exists on Fulton. When you live close to Dekalb, your life exists on Dekalb. So just encourage posting of jobs on Myrtle Avenue, and we can certainly follow up with resources to make sure that the residents who would tend to be more on the Myrtle side are aware of these opportunities that are in such a close vicinity to their homes. So
100%. Thank you for that.
And that has no bearing on your application. Sorry, just have to say that, but thank you for your consideration.
Lindsay, over to you.
Thanks, Jessica. So this might have bearing on your application, but it was noted in the chat by our board office that there's no letters of support, but there were 2 letters asking about the 2 a.m. closing. I'm wondering if you've done any outreach to the community and what that outreach might have looked like.
Yeah, we just mentioned that a little bit ago. We submitted, I think it's about 30 or 40 signatures of support from the neighborhood, and there were some letters of support as well, and the hours were clearly stated on there. And there's been additional outreach through a couple of different outlets. Anoop had mentioned, including through the landlord of the building to the 2 residential tenants above, to make himself available to answer any questions that they might have.
Thanks. Sorry, I did have to dip out for a sec. Taya, did you receive those? Are the addresses all on the block, or are they further?
Did Hal Brown Levy should certainly be aware by now that the board does not accept petitions. The instructions are very clear on that point for 2 reasons. They are not verifiable as immediately adjacent residents, and because the petition signatures often come in, as did these, with addresses from as far away as even well across Fulton and into the other district. The folks that are most likely to complain about an impact to their quality of life are the residents immediately adjacent, above, or sometimes below.
Yeah, totally understood. It's just an extra thing that we do because sometimes it's not so easy to get someone to write a letter in support, but certainly the outreach was done to adjacent buildings and above, and it's sometimes easier to just have someone sign if you have a conversation with someone locally.
So I will just reiterate that, yes, it's very difficult to verify. The letters of opposition are ostensibly from folks nearby. I am curious to the applicants if you communicated in your outreach that the outdoor hours closed at 10.
That was in the 2 residents who live directly above the building. Yes, I believe that was also vocalized and verbalized during the petition process, though I can't guarantee every single person heard that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Any comments or questions from members of the community or the rest of Community Ward 2? Oh, and hey, Beth, I just see you. Lindsay, you have another question?
Sorry, it's actually for Taya. I just want to know if there are other complaints at this address from the previous residents.
Taya commented in the chat, there have been many complaints at this address. 1 block over another location that also has a 2 a.m. close Friday, Saturday has received complaints as well. So given that, before we move into a committee motion and discussion, to the applicants, I would pose the question, if the committee were to make a recommendation that you do not have a 2 a.m. close Friday, Saturday, and instead stick to midnight every night, is that something you'd be amenable to?
Yeah, to be completely transparent, as someone who has lived in the neighborhood for a long time and has had noise issues with neighboring businesses, the 2 a.m. was a nice to have. It was to build some buffer into the application. If the committee's preference is midnight, I think the partners and I are 100% okay with that.
Okay, thank you for your flexibility. That's really helpful to know. So given that I don't see any other hands raised or anyone from the community, would anyone on the committee like to make a motion? Emily?
Sorry, this isn't a motion, just to confirm, just what Taya put in the chat. There is the other location, not this restaurant, but Fancy Free, which is close. They are open until 2 on Friday and Saturday. Just to confirm. Okay.
Yes, that's correct. They're
Okay.
on the corner of South Elliott and Fulton.
Okay. Thank you.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Well, I just wanted to make a statement related to Fancy Free. I recall that when someone came to speak about that, they mentioned the prior owners, they didn't have an issue with noise as being a concern, but it was just with the new business owner. So I just want to put that out there, that it might be an issue concerning management.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just one other point of clarification, to the extent that it makes a difference to the board, directly above our space, there's actually nothing. So we do have a buffer before there are residents in our particular building. So just so you know, we don't have someone directly on top of us.
Jessica, I'd like to make a motion to support the application.
Great. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I second that motion.
I think I heard Mr. Andrews.
Yes, you did.
So now this is open to discussion, and just for clarification for folks, this part is just for the committee to discuss at this time. Emily, I see your hand.
Just to Nicole's point, and I appreciate, Jessica, the suggestion on the closing time. Potentially, I'm moving that earlier. I think for me, the concern is basically having a restaurant or another venue that's within a block that gets to stay open later is a bit tough, I think, for a new location as they're being established. And I would also say that just to Nicole's point, it could be a difference in the new management. It also could just be a difference in the new neighbors who have less of a tolerance for. So.
Any other comments? Lindsay?
So I fully support the application. I think it's worth thinking about though, and maybe they would be amenable to thinking about what time the music ends, because there are already complaints on the block. And I know we can't make it a condition of the application, but maybe it's worth mentioning, thinking about a 10 p.m. during the week and 12 p.m. on the weekend, that we keep the music off at that time.
You're suggesting indoors?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me frame that to the applicants. And I should thank you, Lindsay, for stating that this is not something within the purview necessarily of this application's approval. So it would be, I won't call it quite conditional, but strongly suggested. Would you be amenable to ending music, if I'm doing the math, 2 hours before closing time? And I suppose that's daily, or perhaps at least on the weekends.
Turning the music off completely is a little funny. It's background music all the time. So it's not like there's an element of like entertainment level music and we have to stop live music or stop a performance early. Because if that was the case, then I would agree we should do that. But background music all the time, and I don't know who wants to be in a hospitality environment with no music whatsoever in the background, even if it's just for a little ambiance. I think it's kind of necessary. It's part of the environment you're curating.
That's fair.
Perhaps the DJ could go home early.
Yes, what about when you have the DJ could that be something that ends 2 hours early and you reconvert to background music at that time?
For the recorded music,
Yes,
no problem. We're
Okay.
fine.
thank you. While I'm writing that, Nicole, did I see your hand up?
No, I don't need to say anything. We came to a solution.
Jessica, just curious, are these proposed amendments to the motion?
I would suggest that they not be because they are not really within the purview of the approval.
Okay.
Any other comments or discussion from committee members? So just as a reminder, before I go around and call on folks to vote, this is a vote yes is in favor of the application as it is submitted. The vote no is not. Yeah, Victor.
Mrs. Chair, so that means you guys, what I'm hearing, you guys are gonna send, now DJ is, the guy that's there, all he's doing is playing the music so that the people in the restaurant don't have to touch anything. That's all the DJ is there to do. So that means if y'all kicking DJ out, you may as well don't even worry about music at all if that's the case, because that's what we do. We mess with the music while other people, that's not, these guys are just open up a restaurant and they're hiring somebody like me to start the music and stop it and do that, all that sort of jazz, so they don't have to do it. Plus, you forgot, if they rent out the back room, how is that going to work for outside events?
In terms of the music?
Yeah, because the DJ is the one who runs everything. Yeah, you can give them a cutoff day, but then that all depends on how it all depends on how it's packaged. It all depends on whether the DJ comes with the venue or whether they got to hire their own DJ. It all depends.
Yeah. I agree, but to clarify, this is not a stipulation of the approval. It's just a suggestion.
Oh, okay.
So with that, I'll call the vote. Ms. Cobb, how do you vote?
Approve.
Okay. Mr. Varela?
In favor.
Okay. Mr. Smith? Yeah, I can't hear Mr. Smith. We're going to come back to you, Brandon. Ms. McKnight, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Cumberbatch?
In favor.
Okay. Ms. Einhorn? Lindsay?
Sorry, couldn't get off mute. In favor.
Ms. Anadu?
In favor, and not sure if you saw Brandon's.
Oh, no, I didn't.
He's also in favor.
Okay, thank you. I did not say that. Fantastic. Mr. Andrews, how do you vote?
In favor.
Okay, Mr. Ryan?
In favor.
Great. And I vote in favor as well. Congratulations, your application has passed.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Next up, do we have anyone from Under Wine, Beer and Cider, 84 Grand / 318 Lafayette Choice Market?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi there.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Hi.
Hi.
One moment, please. Taya, do you mind resharing again?
Yes, 1 second. Or no, I don't mind.
And while Ms. Muller is beginning to share her screen, please go ahead and tell us about your establishment.
Hi, I would like to talk first, and before I pass the floor to Mr. Jack Wan. He's currently the owner for Choice Market. My name is Sandra Hom. I'm currently representing Choice Market that we're located to 284 Grand Avenue, known as the 318 Lafayette Avenue on the corner. So that business has been open for over 30 years on premise. So right now, the current owners of the establishment recently retired, and they sold the business to Mr. Jack Wan. So he pretty much took over the business as it is. Same method of operation, didn't change the food menu at all. As you may know, I'm not sure if you live in the neighborhood, but that establishment is well known for the delicious pastries, the bakery goods, the sandwiches, the paninis. They also sell full entrees, it's pretty much American dishes. Also, because they recently applied for the health department permit, we actually plan to use the outdoor open restaurant program. And before they file, they need to pass a health department inspection unit to do so. So right now, pretty much the dining area sits a capacity about 24 chairs inside, and this limited seated right on the front by the takeout side, which is the bakery art. So pretty much the size of the restaurant remains as it is. There have been no structural changes at the restaurant. There was no interior renovation. They just took over as is conditions overall, and also play background music. So far, we plan to propose to stay closed at 12 midnight. That has been stipulated for over 2 years ago with the current owner. They don't plan to close later than that. And they only play background music. And pretty much I spoke to the owner to stop the music 1 hour before closing, just to respect the neighbors. That's pretty much it for the presentation. I would pass the floor to Mr. Jawan if you'd like to talk about asking about the experience in the restaurant, things like that. So you would like to ask him, Jack?
Sure, Jack, if there's anything you'd like to briefly add, please do so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I took over the business February 1st. Kept everybody, kept the same menu, kept the whole team. Kind of restructure a little bit with the team. You know, have somebody who's in charge of kitchen, have somebody who's in charge of prepping, have somebody who's in charge of the front of the house. So my goal is continue running the business as it is, and continue creating an environment where people enjoy working there, and continue serving the community.
Great. Well, before I open it up to questions from the committee, I just wanted to clarify, did the previous owners have a liquor license at any point, or is this brand?
Yeah. No, this is a transfer. I believe I forgot to mention that. So we only do a transfer for the beer and wine, so we're not applying for the hard liquor right now.
Got it. Thank you so much. And are you doing any new hiring in this transfer? It sounds like you've just restructured a bit, but do you anticipate doing any additional hiring?
Yeah, I actually did hire 2 people locally. Yeah, one for downstairs for prep, and also one as barista position. My goal is always to keep everybody in the neighborhood. Number 1, the commute is a lot easier. Number 2, just to keep the local vibe. You know, that's always my goal, you know, taking over this establishment.
Okay, great. Thank you. Fantastic. And I'm sure you heard the earlier discussion, but if you are posting for additional jobs, please feel free to reach out to the community board, because we have some excellent local hiring resources, particularly focused on underserved folks in the community.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have a job posting outside, and there's a school close by as well. So we do have a lot of students and a lot of neighbors. So we post on our Instagram accounts. Yeah, definitely.
Great. And I will note as I open it up to committee members that the board office received 2 verified letters of support and 0 letters of objection. Do any committee members have any questions or comments? Mr. Smith.
Just similar to Ms. Muller's comment in the chat, the application itself has it checked off liquor, beer, wine, and cider, and yet they said that they're not going to provide liquor. So maybe they can submit a revised application if that's not what they were planning, or a revised document.
I can resend it. I asked Mr. Jawan to redo it. I even asked the commuter board themselves, because since I submitted, there was a typo with regard to the liquor. But if you want me, I could resend it right now. We will repost it again.
Yes, please send it after the meeting is fine.
Okay, yeah, I can do so.
Thank you. Anyone else in the committee have questions or comments?
I have one question. I've only ever been to Choice for during the day, and so I didn't realize it remained open as a restaurant in the past. Is that correct? It's remained open as a restaurant in the past?
Well, basically when I applied for the liquor license for the past owner, we recently renovated the back of the restaurant, but currently there was a bakery for the past 30 plus years. And 2 years ago, when he initially filed for the beer and wine license, he added the restaurant in the back. So it's pretty much just a sort of like a bar area. That's where the 24 people sits over there. So that's pretty much new, I would say.
And so there is, it says there is no outdoor, but in images I see outdoor space. I guess, is that just part of the property line? Is that why it's not included in the design?
That is a property line. If you notice, that is there was a little ramp right above it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
8 inches. That's within the property line.
And will you be, I guess that will, you would serve food. I mean, you would serve until midnight out there, same hours as
But
indoor?
right now, Mr. Jack he would like to propose it. He wants to start out, how the neighbors is gonna react to close late hours, but currently they close early around 9 and 10.
Well, actually, to correct that, right? The back is actually a brunch spot. We currently operate from 8 to 4, but the goal is to, open a little later. That's the goal. I think that we're not gonna go past 10 o'clock. Right now, the takeout part, we close at 8. So currently it's actually opens only from 8 to 4.
Well, I do think Mr. Varela's point is one that it's important to clarify. In your application, you state NA as though there is no outdoor seating, so no hours. So that is something that would need to be amended as well, even if it's within the property line.
Okay.
What is
well,
what is
right? Right.
Let me just finish, please. What is the time at which you plan to close outdoors? And is that consistent every day, or does it change?
Well, we would like to propose it, I say method hours operation that we include on the table. And the reason why we didn't include the outdoor side, because that's pretty much what we're planning to open for the open restaurant programs, because we didn't file yet. I thought it will be not applicable right now, but I could add it that pretty much the same hours.
The outdoor,
right, is applicable.
Yes, the seating that we've just seen images of is within your property line and is outdoor seating and needs to be included in the application. So I'll restate my question. What are the hours for outdoors?
Right now, we would like to propose 8 to 10, but since the hours of probation, we would like to 8 to 12 midnights, we would like to propose it to actually stay at those hours. So pretty much the same hours we propose on the table. So currently we close at 10. So
you're asking for midnight close outdoor hours.
Right.
So before I even go to the committee, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to share that is something that we're unlikely to be supportive of.
Right.
Are you amenable to earlier outdoor closing hours?
Jack?
That is fine. Currently, like I mentioned, we actually open from 8 to 8 in the front for the takeout part. The brunch restaurant, we actually open 8 to 4 p.m. I would like for the committee, I would like to propose to the committee that I wanted to, plan to open from 8 in the morning to 10 p.m. at night.
Outdoors.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That
Of
does
course.
need to be amended in the application when it's resubmitted, but we will assume that for our vote this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Ryan, do you have a question for the applicant? Mr. Ryan, you're on mute.
Yes. Simultaneously, I'm at a football game of my granddaughter, but full disclosure, I was a customer of Choice Market for 14 years. And has there been any notices within the community regarding staying open later hours?
Okay, Mr. Wong, go ahead.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Well, actually, a lot of our customers actually want us to open, especially for the brunch part, the restaurant side that we opened 2 years ago, want us to serve dinner. So, we definitely have a lot of support from the community. Currently, like I said, we open 8 to 4. But that's the plan. Obviously, if you want to open for dinner, we have to plan for in terms of staff wise. And that is definitely the goal. We wanted to give the community what they the community what they want. So,
But for a point of clarification, your application included no outdoor hours. So any signatures or letters of support you've received, am I correct in stating that they did not know that you would have an outdoor close at what your representative said midnight and what we're saying now 10 p.m.
well, actually, that's something that I have to talk to Sandra about, but the customers know that we do have outdoor seatings.
Okay.
We have to definitely revise that, what is it, the application?
Yes, but it wasn't made clear as you did post about tonight. So that is something that we'll have to take into consideration.
Okay.
I can resend it. That is no problem to include the outdoor
Well, my
dining.
point is unfortunately that the community wasn't made aware and able to provide feedback because the application wasn't reflective of the hours you're asking.
Right.
So, Mr. Ryan, did you have a subsequent point?
Yeah, I mean, the community is to my knowledge, we're aware that Choice Market was open from 6 o'clock in the morning, the front of the restaurant, 6 o'clock in the morning until 8:30 in the evening. As the owner mentioned, the brunch location located directly in back was open from I think it was 8 until 3:30. So he extended some hours, but I don't considering the buildings that are there, you have Pratt Towers, Jameson, and Ryerson Towers directly across the street. I'm not aware that any notices have been put out that they're going to stay open longer hours. I think that there should be more reach out to the community to make them aware. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will note Ms. Muller's point in the chat, which is that the 2 dining establishments directly across the street do also close at 10 p.m. for helpful context. Alejandro, did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, I was just going to offer a motion.
Please.
I'd like to support the application as is with the amended outdoor closing hours of 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday, to keep in line with most of the other outdoor cafes that we have approved.
10 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, 11 p.m. Friday to Saturday. Excellent. Do I have a second on the motion?
I second.
I'll second the okay.
Okay, I got Ms. McKnight. Any discussion of the committee on the motion? I do recognize quickly before we go to a vote that I neglected to ask, does anyone from the community have any comments on this application? I didn't see. Okay. And one last chance, anyone on the committee have any further discussion or comment on the motion?
Jessica, I do just want to mention that one block over, Mecklenburg's is open till 2, Izzy Rose is open till 2. So I think there is some precedent for this in the neighborhood.
Great. All right.
Is that indoor or outdoor, Lindsay?
So Mecklenburg's has music outside until 2 a.m. and they have residences right up on top of them. And it's like half a block away.
Did you say outdoor or indoor, Lindsay? I couldn't understand you.
It's outdoor and it's,
okay.
It's not quiet. I live 2 blocks away.
Okay.
I'd love to review that application.
Wait a second. Okay, so let's go to a vote. If you are voting in favor, that is to approve the application with the amended outdoor hours of 10 p.m. Sunday to Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday to Saturday. I'm going to go in a similar order as my notes allow me. Ms. Cobb, how do you vote?
In favor.
Great. Mr. Varela?
In favor.
Mr. Smith. Oh, we may have, did we lose? Brittany? Okay.
Looks like we did.
Ms. McKnight,
In favor.
Ms. Cumberbatch,
Approve.
Ms. Einhorn,
In favor.
Ms. Anadou,
In favor.
Mr. Andrews. Victor? Did we lose Victor? Mr. Ryan, how do you vote?
In favor.
Excellent, and I'm in favor as well. Congratulations, you passed with 2 abstentions. And excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Just- Great. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with me. And our final application of the evening is a beer and cider license at 445 Albee Square West, aka City Point, Dekalb Market Hall, Dekalb Pizzeria. Is anyone here from that application?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to note from the office that this location, as you noted, is at City Point, which is the completely isolated basement below, which has its own management company, et cetera, and they establish their own operating hours. Just a reminder to the committee that for renewals at this address, we always grant a waiver because of the operating structure of that address. So the committee may feel free to move to a motion if you wish, because this is beer and cider only.
Well, we'll still hear from folks, but we'll keep it free. Thank you so much, Taya. And I just muted our applicant because I did not hear over him. Would you kindly come off mute and tell us briefly about your establishment? And introduce yourself, please.
No, I can't hear you. You say?
Oh, could you introduce
Hello?
yourself?
Oh, yeah. My name is Ning. I own JINQING.
G.
Hello?
Great. Hi. Okay, given our well, are you able to tell us briefly about your establishment and have you opened?
Okay. Hi. So Dekalb Pizzeria recently opened earlier this year, and we're part of Dekalb Market Hall, and we're right next to right along Trader Joe's.
You can see
Right.
Trader Joe's.
Excellent. All right. Well, given the structure, does anyone have any immediate questions for the applicant? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. We'll just move forward. And for context, for those that are newer to the committee, I'm sure you're familiar with Dekalb Market Hall, but to Taya's point, we got an influx of these applications when it was first opening, and they've of course since trickled off as spaces are being redone, et cetera. But otherwise, it is all enclosed. It is, yes, there are residences in the condominium building above, but wholly sound insulated from the market hall down below, and is operated and managed discreetly. So we haven't attempted to hear any issues. Oh, Brandon, perfect. I'll note that on previous application. So with that, I do suggest we move to a motion. Would anyone like to make a motion on this application?
Yeah.
Did I? Oh, Lindsay, are you commenting or are you making a motion?
Motion
To
approve.
Okay. Second on the motion?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, let me put that. Any discussion on the motion from the committee? And any community members' commentary as well? Okay, with that, let us go to a vote. Ms. Cobb, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Varela?
In favor.
I'm looking away from the screen
Madison.
at my minutes, so just so you all know, I can't see you at this moment. Mr. Smith. I'll watch in the chat for Brandon. Ms. McKnight,
In favor.
Ms. Cumberbatch,
In favor.
Ms. Einhorn,
In favor.
Ms. Anadu,
In favor.
Mr. Andrews,
In favor.
Mr. Ryan,
In favor.
and I'm in favor as well. Did I miss anyone?
Me, Brandon in favor.
You're in favor? Okay, great. Congratulations. Your application was approved unanimously. Welcome to City Point.
Really much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for bearing with me. So with that, our next agenda item is a discussion about the fiscal year 2025, which I refuse to wrap my head around, community district needs and budget requests. Taya, I'm tossing this over to you.
Oh my, I forgot I put that on there, Jessica.
Hey, we can do it next time.
Luckily, we do have one more month. I can't share a couple. Oh, let me put my face on here. Hello.
Next
A
time,
couple.
next time, next time.
I know we're 6 minutes from 7. I think we can still get us out of here by sunset. Just
kidding,
a
just
super
kidding.
quick update. DCP or OMB has heard the community districts and is starting the process earlier with us this year. So the portal will be open this summer. This was the first year, this last one that you just completed was the first year that they actually published the agency responses right next to our requests. It was the first time they did that, and it has had an interesting ripple effect. So I think that hopefully this will inspire more robust responses from the agencies in coming years. That's it.
Great. We'll stay on the lookout. It does feel like every year we just did it last month. It always feels that way. But it is really exciting to get their feedback. I mean, I just remember even 5 years ago, it just felt like we were spinning our wheels a bit because we had no idea if they even looked at what we sent. We just never heard. So thank you, Taya. I imagine we will have more to discuss next month.
Yes, and actually just today we got the executive budget as well. So we have for your June meeting, we will have the agency responses and the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget comments on the agency responses to share.
Great. Excellent. Scooting right along. Brandon, I'm not sure how your Wi-Fi is right now. Is there anything you would like to share for your chairman's report?
Yes. And sorry, there may be some train announcements in the background. I'm really happy to announce we have a brain doctor coming to our health fair. And the brain doctor is interested, if anybody is particularly interested in graphics, to have like a sign made for them that shows that it's somewhat attractive from a graphics perspective, because I guess they're more doctor oriented and not so artistic oriented. So if anybody is interested in taking the lead on that or being involved, we could really use some help. Feel free to contact either. That's
Brandon, this is Emily. I'm happy to help do that. So I'll send, yeah, I love whipping up graphics. I'm happy. I'll send you an email, but happy to help with that.
amazing. Thanks, Emily.
Brandon, I think you said that was it, but anything else that you? Okay, I don't think so. I will just remind folks that the community fair is June 10th, and there will be many needs for extra support, setup, tear down, etc. I'm excited to be there this year. I was out of town last year. I believe our rain date is June 24th, but let's all do an anti-rain dance and hope for the 10th, and it's going to be a fantastic event. And again, it's on the southeast corner of Commodore Barry Park this year versus the northwest corner. So southeast corner by hopefully some more traffic, walking and otherwise. All right. Any other committee business that any committee members would like to raise or discuss?
Madam Chair.
Please.
I just wanted to say, because I don't want this to get lost.
Yeah.
Where is she? Just wanted to say thank you to Lindsay Einhorn. This is her last official committee meeting.
Oh, Lindsay.
And Monique as well, although she is probably going to be rejoining us as a public member, but just wanted to say thanks. Oh, and Victor as well.
Oh.
So this committee will be seeing some changes. But of course, just a reminder that you should not be strangers. You should still come back. You are expert residents now, so please continue to come to meetings.
Thank you.
I definitely echo those thanks. And just like we say to folks that have never been to a community board meeting and don't know what it's all about, you know you can come to any meeting. They're public and we welcome you at any and all times. And thank you for your incredible service.
Yes, I second that. All of you have provided a huge contribution to the committee, and you're definitely appreciated. And I wish you all the best. And don't be a stranger.
We need you. We always need you.
If I may, on committee business, well, first, yes, it's been a pleasure to work with all three of you. I'm sorry to see you go. I hope to see you again. The other item is I think I've sent it out a few times, and I don't mind nudging on this for the next few years, but I just want to remind you, I would love to find some way to add some questions around accessibility. That an organization came to us about 5 years ago to present on senior needs or older residents and around vision and spatial abilities and things that happen when we age that make it harder to to engage in restaurant spaces like we used to. And so I thought maybe we could add some items to our questionnaire that, they're kind of like a do you know checklist for restaurant owners, just so that they can be aware of things that they could do to make the space more accessible around lighting, around patterns, around other things. I can't remember all the questions. I sent it out and I can send it out again, but
I received
think
it,
it might be nice.
Alejandro.
Okay.
I did get it, and I was reviewing it, and I muted myself. And I was stating that could be something we can discuss at another meeting where others have had an opportunity to review it too.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And Ms. Miller makes a great point. This is one too we could raise at the executive committee. And perhaps at some point, one of our council members in the district, Crystal Hudson, is, I believe she's chair of the Committee on Aging. And it could be really interesting to hear from her and her team about other ways, just even beyond HESS, that we could think about that are addressing needs of aging folks in the district. So thank you for the reminder. Lindsay, did you have your hand up?
Okay, thank you.
Any other committee business?
I want to say one more thing, if I may. I'm sorry. This is anecdotal, but I've noticed over the last month and a half or so, there have been more assaults in the neighborhood in Fort Greene. I've heard it from several people in my life. It happened to my partner not long ago. They tend to be younger kids, teenage age. I've been in the neighborhood through 2.5 recessions. And, I look at the public health side of this, and these things are very much correlated. There are lags in these sorts of things. And I just want to say that so that we can double down on pushing for kind of equity in employment in our community. These things are related, and we don't always see the immediate results, but the sooner we level the playing field, the faster we'll see less of these things happening. And so I'm glad that we're all pushing applicants to hire locally. And, and personally, I would just say if we could nudge our council people to do more, to provide more after school activities, more funding for local schools, that sort of thing.
Mr. Varela or Ms. Thurston,
Yes.
could I just insert something to Mr. Varela's point? Thank you so much for bringing that up, Alejandro. The Youth and Education Committee has been talking about this recently. So unfortunately, the many years running Madison Square Boys and Girls Club is closing. You've probably seen some of those notices. I just wanted you to know, though, that Councilmember Hudson is convening an emergency stakeholders meeting about that this week. Board Chair Singletary and I are both attending, and there's a really robust list of attendees. So I will be happy to share back anything we learned from that.
Please, wait, is it open to some of us or is it's already set who can go?
Yeah, it's set.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear back. Thank you so much. And if you have an opportunity to speak, and the conversation doesn't go that way, I'd really love for the conversation to go upstream and not just immediate. How do we criminalize or anything like that?
Nope, absolutely. Everyone is exactly on the same page about that.
Thank you.
Thank you both for sharing. Emily.
Hi, along those lines, it's funny, just today, Alejandro, I think that there's an unfortunate just amount of like othering going on. Like I think about my experience in Fort Greene, and today I was walking and there's a new building going up close to the corner of Carlton and Myrtle. And so there was a realtor showing, two people standing outside the building. And as I walked by, she was literally saying, unfortunately, the projects aren't going anywhere. So you're going to have to deal with that. Nice. And it was like, there's no other word for it than disgusting. And I think that obviously, like, none of us sitting here have a solution for it. And I'm not saying that, I don't even know what I'm saying, but I just, from a mental health perspective, when you think about the kids and like, especially like the Black and brown kids in this neighborhood, they didn't just move here. Their families have been here for generations. Like their families couldn't have afforded to move here just now. And it breaks my heart that, and again, I will keep restating that stat, around 50% of the residents of Fort Greene live in Ingersoll, Whitman, and Farragut. And it just feels like a very powder keg situation. So, so I appreciate you also raising that, Alejandro. I think it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel like it's going in a good direction. And employment will definitely help. And I think that unfortunately, I don't think it's malicious or intentional, but I think a lot of times when people think about hiring, even when they think about it, they're thinking about, school, Brooklyn Tech, you're not getting a lot of local kids. Posting stuff on Dekalb, you're not getting Black and brown kids. And it just, we hear the yes, we will, and obviously we can't mandate it, but it's when people have nothing to do, when they don't have options, good things don't happen. So sorry. Okay, that's it. I'll stop.
No, you remind me of, I remember a few years ago, we had an applicant and so well-intentioned, but said, yes, of course, I'm hiring from Pratt across the street. And we're all like, no, that's not what we meant. Blessings unto them, but that's not exactly what we were talking about. Thank you. Ms. Einhorn, and then Mr. Flournoy.
So I think it's a very important discussion, and I know these things out early, I apologize, but for the Youth Employment Committee, I think one of the things that's been very difficult about the summer program, I know from a lot of people who won bids to help employ youth, is that the local nonprofits aren't being paid until the program is completed. And so they're conducting the program over the summer to try to do youth employment opportunities and being paid in the fall because of the way the budgeting for that program is working. So it's a very difficult program to sustain and be a part of. And also through some friends who are working in that program, the majority of the youth who are engaged in the program did not actually receive employment opportunities last year. They were put into auditoriums because there weren't enough employment opportunities to go around. And I think it's a really important program to talk about because this administration is also putting an emphasis on policing the otherness. And I too had an incident of violence in the subway system recently. It was not something that I think should be criminalized. And I think we need to be looking at resources outside of criminalization of mental health issues and incidents on the streets that are nonviolent, but also stigmatized in other ways. And I think because these are some hyper-local issues, we can be looking at that for the statement of needs for this year and look at some creative programs that perhaps we could be piloting in our neighborhoods.
That's a great idea for the statement of needs, Lindsay. Thank you. Mr. Flynn, speaking of the Economic Development Committee. Mr.
Yes, hi. Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute. I'm on my phone. As a matter of fact, our district manager already stole my thunder in the chat. Okay, but
on top of it.
But at yesterday's meeting, we had a long discussion about the very issue that we're just currently discussing and how we can actually start reaching out to additional centers of influence to actually get the word out about these particular jobs that are coming up. And I also mentioned that this committee has a habit of always asking and making sure that the individuals who are coming before you with applications are aware of putting out the word for jobs that are potential. And I do appreciate that immensely. I also asked to actually have a one-on-one, okay, with Lindsay, okay, after the meeting, so that we could actually sit down and get better acquainted, so we can actually work together more diligently to see what we can do in this district. So we are definitely aware of this and we are working toward it. And I am so happy of this committee that you guys are so proactive also. And perhaps one day we can all get together as a group, okay, and actually see what we can do on a volunteer basis outside of the committee structure, the community board structure. So thank you.
Well, I love that. The idea of community board sort of as a pathway to outside volunteer opportunities is really exciting and something that we can totally, that's part of what our platform is about. I love that idea, Bill. Thank you for sharing. Well, thank you, folks. Let's move to our penultimate agenda item, community forum. Are there any members of the community that would like to speak at this time? Ms. Ramona, are you maybe coming off mute? Okay.
I was trying to find Ray to raise my hand.
You do great. I can see you.
Okay. What I wanted to know is just for my clarification, when they mention background music in the restaurants, that's the music coming in softly through the speakers or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Versus like amplified live music is how we differentiate. Yeah, like speakers, reverberation, bass, that kind of thing.
Yes. And then just another comment, when the seniors were mentioned earlier, I'm a senior close to 68. And one of the things that we have issues with is when we are going into restaurants and stores and you have to step up that one high step. And we've had more establishments that had like 2 lower steps that we could step up, because a lot of us have problems with our knees, our backs, our ankles, and all the rest. So that was just a thought that came into my mind when you were speaking of seniors.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And to Mr. Varela's earlier point, it's absolutely something we should think about how we better incorporate. And so, too, sometimes Mr. Andrews in particular has been so great on our committee raising the question of ADA accessibility to spaces. In our district, though, because there are so many historic neighborhoods like Clinton Hill Historic District, as you know, and Brooklyn Heights Historic District, those spaces are often grandfathered in and aren't required to make that. And I understand it. Of course I understand it, but it still limits accessibility and it's difficult. So anyway, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other members of the community that would like to speak? Well, not seeing any. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, Mr. Smith, I'm not sure how your connection is right now, but anything you would like to add?
No, except thank you profoundly, Jessica, for leading a meeting in this difficult circumstance for me. And we're very appreciative. You've been absolutely wonderful at steering the reins of the committee.
I love running a meeting. Y'all know how I am. So absolutely, I'm always happy to help. Well, with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Ms. Anadu, seconded by Ms. Cobb and all. Good night, everyone. Everyone stay
You
safe.
did great, Lindsay, or Jessica, sorry.
Thank you, Jessica.